Instagram. And we are good on all three. Brilliant. Okay. G'day, guys. YouTube's best for this, by the way, if you're watching. So jump over there because I can share my screen and it's just easy for me to get stuff. Instagram's probably the hardest, but anyway. Right. So let's have a look at what we've been going over. A couple of things this week. Smacking kids, yes or no? Now, I got a couple of comments on this from both sides, which I was actually really happy about because I know some people are really against this. I'm not for or against. I think parents have sort of got to work out what's going to work best for their kids, and that ends up being their choice. This is not something I believe the government or authorities should have any say in, and I really don't like that they do in countries like Australia. It's probably a big reason why I would choose not to raise kids there, because I think as much separation from government and central authorities in any aspect of your life is insanely important, but particularly when it comes to raising your kids. And that's a really big problem for me in Australia with how intertwined the government is attempting to be in family lives and in raising kids. It's a very slippery slope. And the new thing they've come out with the savings account for kids, like, it looks really good, but this is just another way for governments to have that extra control in kids' life from a very, very young age, which is really unfortunate. So I'd strongly, strongly recommend people thinking about, do you want more government influence in your life? How good is the track record of government decisions? Do you want more of that for your kids? Do you want less? Do you want your kids to have more freedom, more autonomy? Do you want them to have less? And I mean, that's a personal call as well. Some people like having a lot of that sort of control and authority in their lives. I'm not one of those people, so I disagree. But whether you smack your kids or not, how you choose to discipline, I think, should be up to the parents to sort of decide that, ideally before they decide to have kids. But for some people, well, I got belted as a kid, and I don't, like, I can see both sides of it. I can see where it was probably beneficial at times and probably fairly excessive at other times. But a hell of a lot better than what my parents would have gone through. So I can understand where they were coming from, particularly my dad, because some of the stories he had were crazy scary. So I can understand why he made those decisions. And I think he was just doing what he thought was best. And that's fine. I think every parent's got to do that. Some parents will be like, no. Like Carly's she's a very firm no, because she sees it as abuse, and that's cool. That's a parenting decision that she makes. This is on Facebook, by the way. And if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see me sharing the screen. I'm not able to do that on Instagram or Facebook at this point in time. Healthier ways to discipline. Look, personally, I probably agree for the most part. It doesn't have to be smacking, right? There's definitely other ways that you can go about disciplining children. For some people, smacking makes sense. I think in Australia, what I've seen is the more further out in the country you go, the more you get that sort of hardline stance. The more in the city you go, the more you get what I would call definitely the softer approach. Neither are right or wrong. It's just different preferences. But I would certainly say to live in the country, you have to be a lot harder than what you have to be to live in the city. And raising children in a harder fashion is going to prepare them for that environment a hell of a lot better. I would also say that one of the bigger problems now is there are just way too many soft people, particularly men and young boys. I'm not saying go out and belt the crap out of young boys, definitely not. But they need to be raised, in my opinion, in a harder way, and they need to be around strong male figures and have that exposure. I think that's a very, very, very big problem. One of the biggest that we're facing at the moment in societal terms. But it's up to the individuals to fix it. Again, up to the individual parents to make those decisions. Another parent commented, yes. Ooh, there we go. At times, but generally not the preference, which I think would be for most people. It's not usually the preference. It's not, oh, my kid's done something, bang, I'm going to whack the crap out of them. It's, it'd have to be something pretty important. But yeah, I think the most important thing with that is it's up to the individual to choose. So let's move on from that one. The next one, biggest surprise as a parent, or 3 reasons stranger danger won't work. Right, let's have a look at this video. So I did this reel, got a little bit of feedback from a few people, which I thought was mostly absurd, but that's okay. It allowed me to sort of clarify it. So 3 reasons that stranger danger won't work, and just play it. Right. So that is the video. And some of the comments I got from people were like, oh, this is like a how-to of ways to get abducted better. And I was like, all right, good to see that you listened to what I was saying. Stranger danger is something they teach kids when they're young, and when they get older, they know to use common sense. Most abuse happens before the age of 12 to kids. So this comment just shows a complete lack of understanding. This guy said felt like a class on how to get abducted easier. Your first point was literally don't teach kids to be strong, because if they are, predators will avoid picking them. Complete opposite of what I was saying, but cheers. And then I didn't really understand the next one. Stop trying to make it easier, Joseph. I don't really know what that meant. But each to their. So first point that I made was strength, right? The biggest problem when people are teaching stranger danger is they tend to teach techniques that require strength to use them. When most abuse happens to kids under the age of 12, they're not usually developed. And when someone's picking on a child or a victim, female, male, doesn't matter, they're not going to pick someone that's stronger than them, or that they perceive as stronger than them. They're going to pick someone that's weaker. So if your child is only being taught things that require them to be stronger than the other person, they're screwed. It's not going to work, because the person that's picking on them is always going to pick the person who seems the weakest. Unless your child's like a Houdini and super, super skilled in martial arts or whatever they're doing, they're going to be in a bit of trouble in those situations. So best to not focus on the strength aspect. You want to teach them practical skills, and ideally ways to prevent it from escalating, because there's always steps that happen that lead up to this thing getting bigger. So you want to be able to teach them, all right, what are the key signs early on? How do you keep distance? How do you create space? How do you let other people know? They are far more important than teaching techniques about strength. It's just ridiculous. And any instructor, any martial arts teacher or teacher in general that says, oh, no, it doesn't matter if the person's stronger than you, they are horrible, and you should never go to them ever again. Like, they've clearly never been in a real fight. Oh, okay, cool. We're back on Facebook. So it's just ridiculous. Strength, size matters, right? It really, really does. It's very important that kids are aware of that, because if they're aware of what the actual threat is and what the danger is to them, they're going to take the prevention steps a lot more seriously. Okay, so that would be the first one. The second one being, most times that sexual abuse happens, it's within the family environment. Now, that doesn't mean that it always happens that way, but 95% of cases do. not from necessarily within the family environment, but people that the kids know. So if that's at school, that could be friends, that could be teachers, it could be, I don't know, aid workers or whatever, anyone that sort of comes in and is around the school environment that the kids know. Could be one. In the home environment, the type of family where kids are most at risk are the mixed families. So if they've got like step brothers, sisters, step parents, and then you get cousins from that sort of mixed cousins, and people come in and just everyone. No one's like 100% blood related. That's where most problems come from for sexual abuse for kids, and very often it's done from other kids. So it's something to be really aware of when you're bloody connection. Something to be aware of when you're a parent and you've got kids. You have to keep an eye not just on your child, but the other children that they're around with, and have very clear conversations with them about this. It's way more common than you think. Right, so the start for girls, 3 in 5 girls before the age of 12 will experience it, and usually it's ongoing when it's in the family environment. It will be, for boys, it's 1 in 5, so it is less. But they're reported numbers as well, and not everything gets reported. Definitely not. So just be very cautious with that. And I strongly recommend doing my course, because I know what I teach in that regard is the absolute best that there is. No one does a better job teaching that skill than me. And I've got it on the virtual program, the Yellow Belt program in particular. I do a whole week with that being the major focus. So I would encourage you to jump over to that. Sorry, my internet keeps dropping out on Facebook and I don't know why. I would encourage you to jump over to that, get that program, get your kids to do it, and really focus on that week, because how I teach it is the best way going around. No one else does a better job on me than that. And no one else knows the numbers, knows the stats, knows the facts. And that's a very big reason why I do the best job, because I actually do the research. So if you've got kids and that's something that's important to you and you want them to learn those skills, do it on my virtual program. You will not find anything better. You might find other things that are equally as good, but I highly doubt it. I'm yet to see it. And I look harder than anyone else. I research this stuff like a madman. So Yellow Belt program, look at that. Drop a comment if you want it. I'll send you the link. Jump up. It works out to be like $6 a lesson. It's $97 for the 6-week program. Insanely good value. Your kids are going to learn a ton more out of it, but just that skill alone is worth 10 times the price of admission. Just that skill. They're going to get far more than that out of it. The last point. So outside the sort of step family, the mixed family environment, you then get to the cousins, the uncles, the aunts, and then it moves out there to the friends. Strangers are like 5% of the time, almost never happens. And a very important thing for kids to understand is that strangers can actually be a massive, massive help when they're in these situations. So if they think they cannot go to any strangers because stranger danger and the strangers are going to help them, which again happens 5% of the time or less, then all these other strangers that could be of massive assistance to the kids when something goes wrong, when they're in trouble, they're not going to go to seek out for help. Big problem. They need to know. They don't have to know who a police officer is to go and get help. Yes, the police officer is a stranger, but yes, they are a stranger that can help. Firefighters, ambulance workers, doctors, lawyers, other parents with kids, one of the best ones, because that could happen in a park, it could happen lost down the street, it could happen wherever. If they can identify other parents with kids and realize that those parents are likely to want to help them and likely to want to keep them safe, brilliant way to identify strangers that are very likely to be able to help them. Super important. So stranger danger for me is one of the stupidest things that's taught. I used to teach it in the useless way that it is taught. And when I started teaching this almost weekly, I was getting things back from students. I used this week. I used it on this person. I used it on this person. They're using it on people they know. And that's exactly how it should be used. So yeah, do my Yellow Belt course if you want that. If you don't, then Jesus, do something, because you don't want the alternative. It's just not what you ever want to experience as someone who knows a child in whatever the relationship is and knows that they've gone through that, and you could have done something to stop it. That's just not something you want to experience. Okay. So moving on from that, 250,000 views on YouTube. That was pretty cool little achievement for me. That was a little while ago now, but yeah, not bad. So a lot of that's come from these shorts and the reels and things that are coming along recently, but we've got a lot of episodes up there. Got my courses on there as well. The fitness program's done now as well. So if your kids don't want to necessarily do the sort of martial arts structured with the belts and the grades, do the fitness program. They're going to get super strong. They'll lose weight. They'll gain muscle. They're going to gain enormous amounts of confidence, as well as learn some cool basic self-defense techniques, which will be fun for them to play around with. But the benefits of that one are insane. And it's the editing job we've done on that is just so good, so good. So I very, very strongly encourage you to check out that if you don't want the grade one. But if your kids have done nothing before and they just want to get started, you want to get them into something, do the Yellow Belt program. It is brilliant. It is brilliant, and it will change their life, and it will change your life as a parent. You'll be like, holy crap, where has this thing been my whole life? Don't freak out because it's virtual and it's online. I know a lot of those things have got very strong negative connotation for a lot of parents because of all the lockdowns and what parents were forced to do during that. Stupid idea, right? I disagree with pretty much all of that was happening and the way that it was handled, if you didn't gather from my rant about how horrible governments are. But this program, I've modeled it off a guy in the US who's doing very, very well with this, and I've just made it better than what he's done. I think I'm a better instructor than he is as well. But he's come up with a brilliant idea, and he's doing quite well. So I know it works. I know that the kids that have gone through for me done brilliantly on it. And I'd just love to see more. I like hearing the stories. I like knowing that what we've been working on for years now and creating is actually having an impact. So if you're looking for something for the kids, do it. If you don't like it, I'll give you money back. But I'm not going to have that issue because it's phenomenal. So 250,000 views on YouTube. If you don't want to do the paid stuff, go and do the free stuff. I've got like 50 or 60 free lessons on there for kids, probably more. Go and watch some of that on the channel. You got all the reels are sort of the recent ones, but I've got different lists to go and access different classes and things like that. So go do that. We theme it in, like I've got Sonic themed classes, I've got Superman themed, I've got Spider-Man themed, all the heroes and those sorts of things. Really, really good thing for the kids to go on and do. Now, one of the things that we are definitely looking at the moment is moving to do more in-person events, but they're only for the kids that are doing the online programs because you need to have a base of technique to come and do those. I'm not going and doing them for people from scratch, not for the kids. For the parents, I will. I'm going to do more 1 and 2 day events for women in particular. I'll be starting those up very shortly. But for the kids, there needs to be a base. So they need to go through the Yellow Belt or the fitness program. There'll be a bit of a base there so that I can actually go through and I'm not just doing basic bare nothing stuff, and I can go a little bit deeper with the kids. I can teach them some of the more fundamental skills and teach them more about goal setting, more about specific ways to sort of build their confidence, how to handle situations with strangers when they're feeling uncomfortable, emotional management things. These are the things that are definitely my art and what I'm best at. But the techniques need to be there. They're the vehicle that I use. So if you want your kids to have the chance to do the in-person stuff, you got to do the programs. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. And that's why we're doing it. So there's a heap of stuff there on YouTube for you to sort of follow along with. So go and do that. The last thing for this week, I believe I'm going to, finish on this one. Some of the biggest surprises for you as a parent. This one was funny. The attitude of my 9-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl. Don't often hear those complaints about boys, which is interesting. Usually it's just the boys have got too much energy, but attitude of the girls. I find it funny. I had sisters, so a lot of things go crazy when kids start getting a little bit more hormones and they're growing up. It's going to vary for each person. They're starting to find their own feet, develop their own relationships, more independent, and mum and dad are always embarrassing at that point. Get away from me, I want to be around my friends. So that's all fun. It's all part of it. Don't freak out when it happens. Just laugh and do what I do and what my mum used to do to us, and try and make yourself as embarrassing as you can possibly be. Because your kids are going to hate it now, but in 10 years' time or 15 years' time, you're going to have so much fun laughing with them about it. And it's just going to be a really, really cool little discussion. I think it's a really cool way to show that you care in a strange way, but it is a cool way to show it. And I think I know I appreciate it a lot. I don't have my mum around now, but there's some of the things that I treasure the most about her, because she just used to put so much of her into everything. And it was a really cool thing to experience. And they're funny things to look back on, because she was just nuts. But she was always there, and she'd do whatever she could to make sure she was a really big part of our lives. And that was, that was, oh, hold on. Hold on, I screwed up YouTube. I pressed the wrong button. That's what I want to press. What have I done? Oh, that's what I wanted to press. There we go. Worked it out. Switching phones, switching screens. So that's me for the day. If you got questions, shoot them in. If you haven't signed up for the free week, drop your name. I'll send you a message with the link, or you can just put your email straight in. If you're comfortable with that, you're worried about people taking it, then don't. Just ask for a link. I'll send you the link, put it through. I'll get you a free week of classes to try it out for your kids. And if you've seen the classes and you haven't done the paid stuff yet with the Yellow Belt program or the fitness program, I don't know what you're doing if you've got kids and you haven't done it. It is like, I just don't. Tell me what your issues are. Tell me what you're worried about, and we'll sort it out so that you can get in and do it, because it is just way too much benefit to not give your kids the opportunity to do that. And it's the only way to say it. It's the only way to say it. So get into it, do it. If you've got questions, shoot them in. I'll answer them as best I can, and we'll be back next week with some different discussion. For now, bye Facebook, bye Instagram, and bye YouTube.